Hello and welcome to a new lesson for English learners in grade 7. My name is Sanja Božinović and I'm your English teacher. Our today's lesson is April Fools. By the end of today's lesson you will be able to understand a short story of the kind that we tell on April the 1st, a hoax, and you will be able to tell and to write a story of that kind, a hoax. Let's see what we need for today's lesson. You will need a pen and pencil because you will write your story and there will be some new words, and you will need your laptop or your mobile phone with the internet connection because you will watch a video and read a story on a web page. We'll start with the illustration of what people usually call tomorrow's day, April Fool's Day. The first day of April, April the 1st, and you will notice that there are two ways of writing the day. In the first version, April Fools, the word fools is plural, and look at the apostrophe after the word. In the second version, fool is singular, one fool, and look at the apostrophe. Both versions are okay and people use them. My three questions to begin with are: who are April Fools? Who are pranksters? And are you mischievous? And this illustration will help you. Here you can see the explanation of the word prank. Prank is a joke, is a trick that people play on their friends and members of their family. A prank. And the prankster is a person who plays tricks on people. And the mischievous person, that's an adjective. You are mischievous if you make trouble, but if you do it in a playful way. Here are the two words: a prankster, noun, mischievous, adjective. Copy the words into your notebook and answer the question that you can see on top of the screen about yourself. How do you celebrate this prank-centric holiday? Prank-centric holiday means that tomorrow, that April the 1st, people usually think hard about how they will play a trick, how they will act like a prankster, how they will be mischievous. How do you celebrate it usually? Here are the words. If you don't know them, copy them carefully. To play tricks means to surprise someone for a joke. People who are pranksters, who play tricks, they fool people, or you may be fooled. A prank is a silly trick, a practical joke. If you play a trick, a joke that when you want to make someone, a friend of yours, look foolish. A hoax is a trick, is a kind of story that you give people information and it looks like something true, and people forget it's April the 1st and they believe you. But hoax is a trick, it's not a true story. And we will watch a video, we will read about a hoax. And today's story has been taken from the top 100 April Fool's Day hoaxes of all time, the most famous ones. And the source is, you will see on the left hand side, the source, Museum of Hoaxes. That's a web page, Museum of Hoaxes, and there you can read about the most famous stories, hoaxes of all time. And one of them includes spaghetti, and this machine is a harvester that you use during the time of a harvest. Can you imagine harvesting spaghetti? What's the story about, and what's the hoax in the story? If you are working in front of your computer, you can pause this video and try to answer these two questions, and you can go to hoaxes.org April Fool and you will find this story, because this is one of the most famous stories on that page, the most popular one. And the story has the title The Swiss Spaghetti Harvest. Swiss means it happened in Switzerland. Spaghetti harvest. Can you imagine harvesting spaghetti? And that story appeared on the BBC News show Panorama, broadcast on April the 1st, 1957. That was that long ago, and people still talk about it because it's one of the most popular April Fool's hoaxes ever. Now let's see what it was about. You can watch the video because the story was set in Switzerland. The Swiss tourist board from Switzerland, on their webpage My Switzerland, and on their YouTube channel My Switzerland, they have the video, the original video that appeared on that day. And obviously people did not think it was the 1st of April, and they believed it. So that story, it's about 3 minutes a long story. It's not long, it's not very long. And you can also read about it. The BBC, their webpage, bbc.co.uk, on this day. On this day is the service where you go and you choose the date, that's the 1st, and you choose the month, April, and you choose the year. It was in 1957. And when you click, they let you see the most interesting news from that day on the BBC. And the first piece of news that appears is this story, the Swiss Spaghetti Harvest. So you can pause this video, you can watch the 3-minute long video, and you can read about it on the BBC on this day service webpage, and then we will discuss it. If you cannot watch it now, but you will watch it later, I will explain the details, so don't worry. This story looks like everyday piece of news from the BBC. Why? What makes it believable? I'll leave these 2 questions unanswered for now. We'll get back to it. If you have seen the video and if you have read the story, you will know. Let's go on. Where does the story take place? Why is it important? Ticino, Switzerland. It's the part of Switzerland near the Italian border, so it's not in the UK, it's not near, it's not very exotic, but it's a bit far away. Why is it important to mention the weather? The weather has been mentioned several times in the story. They say it's not only in Britain that spring this year has taken everyone by surprise, etc., etc. So the surprising weather in the spring, very mild, slopes full of flowers, the bees, etc. That makes the story look believable. Everything's normal, even nicer than where you live. And then there's the spaghetti picking, the harvest. And how is it described in the story? If you have seen the story, you will know. There are nice looking ladies and they are plucking spaghetti from a tree. And there are animals, 2 kinds. First they mention the bees. Of course there are a lot of bees in the UK. And then they mention weevils. Weevils are a kind of insects that damage grain. So if there's harvest, there will be weevils. But there isn't anything like spaghetti weevil. Why? Is spaghetti a kind of grain? No. So there cannot be spaghetti weevil. So they are mixing something true and something invented. And after the harvest, How is the procedure described? Spaghetti is picked in the morning, dried in the sun, brought fresh from the garden to the table of people who want to eat spaghetti, homegrown spaghetti. Can you imagine this procedure being applied to any vegetable, to any fruit? Of course, that's the usual procedure. What do people like? People like the products picked in the morning, dried in the sun, brought fresh from the garden. That's the procedure that everybody wants for himself or herself, and they apply it. And then the spaghetti of the uniform length, that's the important piece of information, all the same length. And there's the explanation: many years of patient work of farmers, and now they have every piece of spaghetti the same length, long equally as all the others. And then the story ends with a tasting. People eat the spaghetti. Traditional toast, everybody's happy, the food is homegrown. And then, of course, hundreds of people believed the story in 1957, and they phoned the BBC. And what did they want to know? Of course, how they can grow their own trees. And the BBC replied, place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce, hope for the best. Your first task: what's the story about? What's the hoax? Retell the story and include the vocabulary and all the details. Practice. You can go back to the story and check if you have forgotten any of the details. And then your own story. It's April the 1st tomorrow. Think of a hoax of your own. Remember to mix something true, something invented, and tell an unbelievable story about something that has happened to you or something that has happened to somebody you know. Mix and match. Plan your story. Use some true elements and add something that is really a lie. Don't forget your grammar. Present perfect for something that has happened. You don't know, you don't care when. The results. Simple past if you describe something that happened and is in the past. And present simple for something that is always true, for facts. When you have your first draft, check it. Is it a hoax? Is it offensive? Does it have 3 parts? You say what you're going to talk about, you describe some details, and make a conclusion. Do you combine true and invented details? Have you checked your grammar? Have you checked your spelling and punctuation? And if you would like to learn some more, you can do some research. You can learn more by using the internet or your books, or talking to your parents, to your teachers, to someone you trust. How did April the 1st become April Fool's Day? How is it celebrated in different countries? For example, what is the April fish? How does Hunt Gog Day mean? What does it mean in Scotland? And where in the world is there a lie day? If you have your ideas and you have started your story for tomorrow, if you have decided to learn more or not, that's it for today's lesson. Stay safe tomorrow and have fun. Goodbye until our next lesson.